Selamat pagi Bapak dan Ibu, saat lagi kita akan memulai untuk gladi bersih. Kami mohon berkenan kesediaannya untuk menjadi dummy atau pelaku sebanyak 5 orang yang akan duduk di meja tengah.
Bapak Tri Adianto Cahyono dipersilakan.
To all of our media friends, we'd like to welcome you to please stand by at the designated area. Thank you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please rise and be on your feet. And together, let us sing Indonesia's national anthem, Indonesia Raya. Bapak Ibu sekalian dimohon untuk berdiri. Bersama-sama, mari kita nyanyikan lagu kebangsaan Indonesia, Indonesia Raya. Thank you. You may now be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, we are delighted to present to you the Jakarta Investment Forum 2023.
Jakarta, a dynamic and bustling city that serves as the political, economic, and cultural heart of Indonesia, has been experiencing significant urban development and economic growth, positioning itself as an emerging global metropolis. As a home for more than 10 million people, Jakarta is facing many challenges from rapid urbanization, traffic congestion, pollution, to natural disasters. However, Jakarta continues to evolve, reinforcing its position as a significant city in Southeast Asia, as well as making strides towards becoming a global city.
The Jakarta provincial government is committed to enhancing policy and accelerating the implementation of infrastructure projects. We understand the importance of providing efficient and reliable infrastructure to meet the growing needs of our city's residents. By boosting investment and our strategic projects, we aim to enhance the quality of life for all Jakarta citizens and propel the city's development towards a sustainable and thriving future.
As the economic and financial center of Indonesia, Jakarta contributes a significant portion of the country's GDP by 16.92% on the first quarter of 2023, standing on the top of 3 GDP among other Southeast Asian cities. Asserting Jakarta's role as focal point of opportunity and connectivity in Southeast Asia, Jakarta is making an attempt to advance ASEAN's vision by hosting Mayors and Governors meeting of the ASEAN Capital MGMAC 2023.
Aligning with MGMAC 2023 goals in achieving economic growth that promote better living conditions and inclusivity, Jakarta has been committing to strengthen the regional economics by issuing several investment-friendly regulations that providing hassle-free business assistance. Jakarta provincial government, together with the strategic partner, will act as a catalyst in facilitating investment opportunity and nurturing an ecosystem that promotes collaboration with potential investors.
Establishing the position as gateway hub in Southeast Asia, Jakarta actively engages and participates in global forums. Taking global city and beyond as a main theme, Jakarta provincial government holds the 3rd Jakarta Investment Forum, which offers Jakarta's promising projects and great opportunities of collaborations. Join us in exclusive discussions led by experts and policymakers to discuss investment trends and development. Expand your business and network. Be a part of a global-scale business city, Jakarta.
Welcome to Jakarta Investment Forum 2023. Be a part of our transformation journey into global city and beyond. Sukses Jakarta untuk Indonesia.
We proudly present to you Jakarta Investment Forum 2023.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan, salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all excellencies, we'd like to welcome you to the Jakarta Investment Forum 2023. Allow me to introduce myself. So my name is Amelia Yahya, and I'm a true Jakartan, of course. And I'm so incredibly honored, so very happy to be here, to be a part of this incredible day and this very productive forum, especially with everyone here with a great crowd of your caliber. So ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, and as we welcome each and every single one of you, those of you attending with us in the ballroom, as well as those joining us here online, as this event is being live streamed on Zoom virtual meeting, as well as it is being broadcasted on the Pemprov DKI Jakarta and Layanan Jakarta YouTube channels. So to start, allow me to extend our warmest welcome to His Excellency Mr. Lambert Grins, the Dutch Ambassador to Indonesia, and Her Excellency Mrs. Gina Jamoralin, the Ambassador Designate of the Republic of the Philippines to Indonesia. His Excellency Mr. Prapan Dishatat, the Ambassador of Thailand to Indonesia, and the Secretary of the Ministry of State-Owned Enterprises of the Republic of Indonesia, Mr. Rabin Hatari. The Acting Governor of Jakarta, Mr. Heru Budi Hartono, whom will be joining us shortly, as well as the Deputy Minister for Regional Development of the Ministry of National Development Planning, or Bappenas, Mr. Himawan Hariyoga Joyokusumo, and the Deputy Minister for Investment Climate Development of the Ministry of Investment of the Republic of Indonesia, Mr. Yuliot Tanjung. The Indonesian National Energy Council member, Dr. Satya Widyayuda, and the head of Jakarta Regional Legislative Council, Mr. Prasetyo Edi, the Assistant Governor of Bank Indonesia, Mr. Diki Kartikoyono, and the Provincial Secretary of Jakarta, Mr. Joko Agus Setiono. The head of Bank Indonesia's DKI Jakarta Province, Mrs. Arliana Abubakar, and all assistants to the Provincial Secretary and all officials of the Jakarta Provincial Government, and all of our dearest panelists and speakers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of our dearest hosts, allow us to extend our profound gratitude and sincere thanks to everyone for your participation and for your attendance here today. Bapak Ibu sekalian yang kami cintai, semoga kabar baik semuanya. Dan kami mengucapkan terima kasih sebesar-besarnya atas kehadiran dan juga partisipasi Bapak Ibu sekalian di acara tentunya yang sangat tunggu-tunggu ini dan sangat bermanfaat ini. Without your support, this event would not be possible. So for that, let us give the biggest round of applause for everyone here. So distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the Jakarta Investment Forum, it is an annual investment forum that we have undoubtedly been waiting for, that is being hosted by the Jakarta Provincial Government, which aims to promote Jakarta, our lively capital city, into an investment-friendly city, as well as a city of collaboration. And this year, it is our third year holding the Jakarta Investment Forum, and this year, we're taking the theme of Global City and beyond. And ladies and gentlemen, we invite all global city leaders along with investment stakeholders to take part in escalating Jakarta's Global City Index from various perspectives. Together, let us strengthen our harmonious relationship with one another as we add local values such as environmental aspects. Let us continue to push for the improvement of our urban development as well as our transportation accessibility. You can imagine, ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia being the fourth most populous country in the world, as well as the largest island nation and also the largest economy in Southeast Asia. So you can imagine the importance and the scope of Jakarta Investment Forum. So without further ado, please allow me to invite to the stage as we hear from the committee report, the head of the Department of Investment and Integrated One-Stop Services of the Jakarta Provincial Government. Let's give a big round of applause for Mr. Beni Agus Chandra.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam kebajikan, salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Selamat pagi. Yang terhormat Deputi Bidang Pengembangan Iklim Penanaman Modal Kementerian Investasi, Bapak Yuliot Tanjung, Anggota Dewan Energi Nasional Republik Indonesia, Dr. Insinyur Satya Widyayuda, Sekretaris Daerah Bapak Joko Agus Setiono, Kepala Kantor Bank Indonesia Provinsi DKI Jakarta, Ibu Arliana Abu Bakar, Bu Asisten, para asisten dan hadirin semua, mewakili penyelenggara Jakarta Investment Forum 2023, suatu kehormatan bagi saya untuk menyampaikan apresiasi sebesar-besarnya kepada para tamu undangan, pembicara, serta kolaborator yang telah meluangkan waktu untuk menghadiri Jakarta Investment Forum hari ini. Perkenankan saya untuk mengambil kesempatan ini untuk menyampaikan secara singkat mengenai Jakarta Investment Forum tahun 2023. Jakarta Investment Forum tahun ini adalah forum investasi tahunan yang diinisiasi oleh Pemprov DKI Jakarta guna menginformasikan kepada publik serta mempromosikan kota Jakarta sebagai kota yang ramah investasi dan secara khusus menjaring serta mengeksplorasi peminatan investasi dari calon investor terhadap berbagai peluang investasi di Jakarta, termasuk berbagai proyek-proyek pemerintah Provinsi DKI Jakarta pada sektor infrastruktur, properti, dan energi yang dikelola oleh Badan Usaha Milik Daerah Provinsi DKI Jakarta. Forum ini diselenggarakan oleh Dinas Penanaman Modal Provinsi DKI Jakarta dan secara khusus oleh unit pengelola Jakarta Investment Forum, salah satu unit di bawah DPM PTSP dan terlaksana dengan melibatkan berbagai mitra strategis pemerintah Provinsi DKI Jakarta. Tahun ini Jakarta Investment Forum mengangkat tema Global City and Beyond untuk menginformasikan kepada masyarakat mengenai komitmen dan upaya Pemprov DKI Jakarta untuk mewujudkan Jakarta sebagai kota global dengan memperkuat peran Jakarta sebagai pusat bisnis dan ekonomi global pasca pemindahan ibu kota ke depannya. Dapat saya sampaikan bahwa kegiatan Jakarta Investment Forum tahun 2023 terdiri dari dua bagian. Kegiatan yang pertama adalah Jakarta Investment Forum Exhibition, di mana kami mengkoordinasikan kegiatan pameran 10 proyek potensial dari 3 BUMD, yaitu PT MRT, PT Pembangunan Jaya Ancol, dan PT Transportasi Jakarta yang telah dilaksanakan pada tanggal 11-13 Juli serta 25-27 Juli tahun 2023. Adapun kegiatan Jakarta Investment Forum Exhibition tersebut terdiri dari pameran dan proyek booth, presentasi proyek one-on-one meeting, serta peminat atau calon investor, serta kunjungan lapangan ke lokasi proyek. Dengan bangga kami menginformasikan bahwa Jakarta Investment Forum Exhibition telah berhasil menjaring 162 peminat dan memfasilitasi 51 one-on-one meeting antara calon investor dengan 3 BUMD kami. Dan selanjutnya puncak dari rangkaian kegiatan Jakarta Investment Forum tahun 2023 adalah JIF Plenary yang kita hadiri bersama pada hari ini. Sebuah konferensi sekaligus forum diskusi antara Pemprov DKI Jakarta, pemerintah pusat, entitas bisnis, mitra pemerintah, serta private sector nasional dan internasional dalam bentuk plenary discussion, thematic discussion, workshop, and project booth. Pada akhirnya kami ingin mengucapkan terima kasih kepada mitra strategis kami Bank Indonesia, Kementerian Investasi, dan kolaborator lainnya, serta tentu para narasumber dan pengisi acara juga seluruh pihak yang turut membantu atas terselenggaranya forum ini. Sekali lagi, Jakarta Investment Forum 2023 hadir dan mengajak Anda semua untuk datang berkolaborasi dengan Jakarta. Sukses Jakarta untuk Indonesia. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih banyak Bapak Beni Agus Chandra. Thank you very much for your insightful committee reports. And distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, next, it is only with the greatest pleasure and honor that we shall invite to the stage the Deputy Minister for Investment Climate Development of the Ministry of Investments of the Republic of Indonesia. Please let us give a big round of applause for Mr. Yuliot Tanjung to deliver his keynote remarks.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yang kami hormati Pejabat Gubernur Provinsi DKI Jakarta, Bapak Heru Budi Hartono. Yang kami hormati Bapak Sekretaris Daerah Provinsi DKI Jakarta, Bapak Joko Agus Setiono. Yang kami hormati Duta Besar Belanda untuk Indonesia, His Excellency Mr. Lambert Greens. Yang kami hormati Duta Besar untuk Indonesia, Her Excellency Mrs. Gina Jamoralin. Yang kami hormati Duta Besar Thailand untuk Indonesia, His Excellency Mr. Prapan Disastat. Yang kami hormati Bapak Ibu hadirin peserta Jakarta Investment Forum 2023 dengan tema Global City and Beyond. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Bapak Ibu sekalian, kami menyampaikan permohonan maaf dari Bapak Menteri Investasi, Kepala BKPM yang tidak bisa hadir pada hari ini karena pada saat yang bersamaan beliau ada kegiatan dan beliau menyampaikan salam hangat kepada Bapak Ibu sekalian. Pertama-tama dan tiada henti-hentinya, marilah kita panjatkan puji dan syukur kehadirat Tuhan Yang Maha Kuasa yang telah memberikan kesempatan dan kesehatan untuk dapat hadir bersama-sama pada kegiatan Jakarta Investment Forum 2023 pada pagi hari ini. Sesuai dengan tema kegiatan adalah Jakarta Global City and Beyond dengan fokus strategi peningkatan nilai tambah untuk mendukung kegiatan ekonomi berkelanjutan dilihat dari aspek lingkungan, ketersediaan lahan, dan tata ruang kota, dukungan infrastruktur untuk menjadikan Jakarta sebagai pusat kegiatan ekonomi di kawasan khususnya di ASEAN. Sebagaimana kita ketahui bersama, Jakarta merupakan daerah tujuan investasi utama yang dapat dilihat dari pertumbuhan perekonomian Jakarta pada triwulan 4 2022 yang lalu sebesar 5,01% secara year on year, dengan pangsa pasar ekonomi Jakarta masih tertinggi terhadap perekonomian nasional yaitu 16,64%. Bapak Ibu sekalian, sebagaimana kita ketahui bersama, investasi berperan penting bagi peningkatan kegiatan ekonomi, di mana investasi sebagai engine of growth pertumbuhan perekonomian nasional. Untuk mendukung pertumbuhan perekonomian nasional sebesar 5,3 sampai dengan 5,3% pada tahun 2023 ini, Presiden menetapkan pertumbuhan investasi hampir 17%, di mana target investasi menjadi 1.400 triliun. Atau kondisi ini kita lihat dari tahun-tahun sebelumnya, tahun 2022 yang lalu, capaian realisasi investasi itu adalah sebesar 1.207 triliun. Kenaikan target tersebut menjadi penuh tantangan karena di tengah ketidakpastian global dengan adanya konflik antara Rusia dengan China, Rusia dengan Ukraina, kemudian ada kompetisi antara Amerika Serikat dengan China, dan juga dengan adanya kelangkaan baik pangan maupun energi, itu menjadi tantangan secara global dalam rangka meningkatkan perekonomian. Dan di dalam negeri sendiri terdapat juga pada tahun 2023 dan 2024 ini merupakan tahun politik, di mana pada umumnya pada tahun politik investor masih wait and see untuk melakukan kegiatan investasi. Tentu dengan berbagai kebijakan yang dilakukan oleh pemerintah, kita mengharapkan terobosan-terobosan yang diberikan itu bisa disambut baik oleh investor untuk melakukan kegiatan investasi di Indonesia, khususnya bagaimana mengarahkan investasi ke DKI Jakarta. Untuk tahun 2022 yang lalu, realisasi investasi yang sudah kami sampaikan 1.207 triliun atau mencapai 100,6% dari target investasi sebesar 1.200 triliun, terdiri dari realisasi domestic investment sebesar 552,8 triliun, atau 45% dari realisasi investasi, sementara investasi dalam rangka foreign direct investment sebesar 654,4 triliun atau memberikan kontribusi sebesar 54,2%. Sebaran investasi tersebut untuk investasi luar Jawa mencapai 52,7%, ini lebih besar, dan Pulau Jawa sebesar 47,3% atau dengan realisasi investasi sebesar 570,9 triliun. Pertumbuhan investasi dari bulan Januari sampai dengan Juni atau semester 1 tahun 2023 sebesar 16,1% dibandingkan dengan periode yang sama tahun 2022, capaian investasinya sudah mencapai 678,7 triliun. Capaian investasi tersebut sudah mendekati 49%. Kami mengharapkan dengan kolaborasi baik pemerintah pusat, kementerian lembaga dan juga pemerintah daerah termasuk pemerintah DKI Jakarta, bagaimana kita bersama-sama bisa mencapai target investasi yang 1.400 triliun ini. Untuk kontribusi investasi dalam rangka PMA pada semester 1 adalah sebesar 363,3 triliun, merupakan nilai tertinggi sejak tahun 2019. Hal ini menunjukkan bahwa kepercayaan investor untuk melakukan kegiatan investasi di Indonesia cukup tinggi. Sementara kalau kita lihat potensi atau investor yang melakukan kegiatan investasi pada tahun 2023 ini pada semester 1, yang terbesar itu adalah Singapura dengan realisasi investasi sekitar 7 miliar US dollar, ya, kemudian Republik Rakyat Tiongkok sekitar 3 miliar US dollar dan Hong Kong sekitar 2 miliar US dollar, Jepang itu mendekati 3 miliar US dollar dan Malaysia. Tentu ini kita juga berusaha untuk bagaimana peran dari UMKM dalam pelaksanaan kegiatan investasi. Jadi yang selama ini belum pernah kita lakukan pencatatan terhadap realisasi investasi PMDN, khususnya usaha mikro kecil. Pada tahun 2023 ini kita mencoba untuk mencatat berapa realisasi investasi yang dilakukan oleh UMKM. Ternyata UMKM yang bertumbuh pada tahun 2023 ini yang mencatatkan kegiatannya itu melalui nomor induk berusaha mencapai 1,5 juta pelaku usaha. Dengan investasi yang dilakukan oleh UMKM ini sekitar 138,8 triliun. Ya, kami melihat dengan adanya investasi PMA dan PMDN-nya naik, dan juga untuk dalam rangka UMKM-nya itu juga terjadi peningkatan yang signifikan. Bapak Ibu sekalian, untuk realisasi investasi di Jakarta pada tahun 2022 yang lalu untuk PMA ini adalah merupakan bagian yang terbesar aliran investasinya. Itu mencapai 3,7 miliar US dollar. Jadi untuk PMD-nya mencapai 89,2 triliun. Total investasi PMDN dan PMA ini mencapai 143 triliun atau merupakan secara global, jadi kalau kita jumlahkan PMDN dan PMA, total investasi yang masuk ke Indonesia, Jakarta merupakan peringkat kedua sebagai tujuan investasi. Bapak Ibu, dengan adanya arahan Presiden juga bagaimana kita membangun Indonesia itu tidak hanya Jawa sentris, tetapi ini adalah Indonesia sentris. Jadi berbagai kebijakan ini sudah dilakukan, diantaranya adanya pemindahan ibu kota dari DKI Jakarta ke ibu kota Nusantara. Tentu ini merupakan bagian strategi kita untuk mencapai Indonesia maju pada tahun 2045. Untuk arahan kebijakan investasi, ini kita bisa melihat bahwa persaingan kita dalam rangka menarik investasi ini justru semakin ketat, karena persaingan itu bukan hanya antar negara, tetapi antar daerah itu juga terjadi persaingan yang sangat ketat. Di samping kita menyediakan berbagai fasilitas investasi, baik tax holiday, tax allowance, investment allowance, itu merupakan sweetener bagi pelaksanaan kegiatan investasi, ternyata itu belum cukup. Ini kita juga harus memberikan pelayanan yang lebih mudah kepada pelaku usaha. Kalau kita bandingkan ini aliran investasi yang negara-negara yang mudah atau daerah-daerah yang mudah dalam memberikan pelayanan investasi, ternyata itu menjadi tujuan utama kegiatan investasi di samping ketersediaan infrastruktur. Ini juga terlihat dari aliran investasi ke DKI Jakarta. Kita berikan aplaus untuk DKI Jakarta. Bapak Ibu sekalian, untuk arah kebijakan investasi, yang pertama adalah investasi berwawasan lingkungan atau green investment dengan menjadikan Jakarta sebagai daerah tujuan investasi yang berwawasan lingkungan, juga termasuk bagaimana kita melihat ekosistem investasi yang sudah terbangun di Jakarta. Kita mengharapkan green investment ini juga menjadi fokus dalam pelaksanaan kegiatan investasi di DKI Jakarta, sekaligus untuk mendorong atau mewujudkan Indonesia maju pada tahun 2045. Kemudian kita juga strategi yang kedua adalah hilirisasi sumber daya alam. Jadi ini bukan kita hanya menjual bahan mentah ke luar negeri, tetapi ini juga dengan adanya kolaborasi investor-investor yang sudah berpengalaman dalam rangka hilirisasi dan juga industrialisasi nilai tambah. Kita harapkan dengan adanya kolaborasi secara global ini akan menjadikan Indonesia ekonominya cukup kuat, dan juga nanti dampaknya adalah menjadikan Indonesia maju. Indikatornya salah satunya adalah kesejahteraan masyarakat dengan menjadi masyarakat berpendapatan tinggi untuk tahun 2045. Ini program hilirisasi, Bapak Ibu sekalian, ini kita sudah melihat contoh dari hilirisasi nikel yang dilakukan, yang tadinya produk nikel dan turunan nilai ekspornya itu hanya sekitar 2 miliar US dollar. Ini pada tahun 2022 yang lalu itu justru nilai ekspor nikel dan turunannya sudah mencapai 30 miliar US dollar. Yang tadinya defisit neraca perdagangan kita cukup signifikan, tahun lalu kita sudah surplus neraca perdagangan kita lebih dari 50 miliar US dollar. Tentu dengan adanya kebijakan-kebijakan ini menjadikan Indonesia sebagai negara yang lebih kompetitif bagi pelaksanaan kegiatan secara keseluruhan. Strategi yang ketiga itu adalah yang terkait dengan kolaborasi antara usaha besar dengan UMKM. Jadi dalam rangka investasi kita juga sudah melakukan berbagai terobosan dan juga memberikan dampak peluang bagi UMKM untuk naik kelas. Jadi dengan adanya kolaborasi ini, bagi perusahaan-perusahaan yang mengajukan fasilitas penanaman modal dan juga ada kegiatan-kegiatan yang kita dorong adanya kemitraan, itu justru ini memberikan kesempatan bagi pelaku usaha yang ada di daerah. Jadi dampaknya tidak terjadi ketimpangan antara pelaku usaha UMKM dan juga ini ada kesempatan yang lebih besar bagi usaha besar dalam rangka peningkatan kegiatan ekonomi dan investasi. Bapak Ibu sekalian, tentu dengan adanya pemindahan Ibu Kota Nusantara yang merupakan salah satu upaya pemerintah dalam rangka mewujudkan visi Indonesia sebagai negara maju dan pembangunan nasional yang menjadi lebih Indonesia sentris, kami juga mengharapkan adanya kontribusi dari pihak pelaku usaha yang menjadikan kegiatan pembangunan di Nusantara sebagai ekonomi hub untuk pemerataan pertumbuhan perekonomian khususnya di Indonesia kawasan timur. Oleh karena itu, dengan adanya pemindahan ibu kota ke Nusantara, seyogyanya dapat tetap bersinergi dan tetap menjadikan Indonesia sebagai pusat pertumbuhan perekonomian. Demikian yang dapat kami sampaikan. Semoga kegiatan Jakarta Investment Forum 2023 ini dapat menjadi wadah diskusi yang baik antara pemerintah, kalangan asosiasi, akademisi, think tank, investor, baik domestik maupun dalam rangka foreign direct investment. Untuk arah kebijakan investasi, pemerintah juga selalu berusaha untuk melakukan konsolidasi kebijakan yang lebih baik ke depan. Demikian Bapak Ibu sekalian yang dapat kami sampaikan. Billahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih. Thank you very much, Bapak Yuliot Tanjung, for the insightful, very informative keynote speech. And let us continue to hand-in-hand support the developments of Jakarta in becoming a more investment-friendly and a city of collaboration. Now, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, it is also an incredible honor of ours to welcome to the stage the Provincial Secretary of Jakarta, Mr. Joko Agus Setiono, to deliver his opening remarks. Let us give him a big round of applause.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi dan salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, dan salam kebajikan. Yang terhormat para duta besar dan perwakilan negara sahabat, terima kasih kehadirannya. Deputi Bidang Pengembangan Iklim Penanaman Modal Kementerian Investasi Republik Indonesia, Bapak Yuliot Tanjung. Sekretaris Kementerian BUMN Republik Indonesia, Bapak Rabin Hatari. Anggota Komisi B DPRD Provinsi DKI Jakarta, Pak Farazandi Fidiansyah, Asisten Gubernur Bank Indonesia, Bapak Diki Kartiko, Kepala Perwakilan Bank Indonesia Provinsi DKI Jakarta, Bu Arliana Abu Bakar, Kepala Dinas Penanaman Modal dan Pelayanan Terpadu Satu Pintu DKI Jakarta, Bapak Beni Agus Chandra, para asisten Sekda Pemerintah Provinsi DKI Jakarta. Mohon maaf, ini urutannya kebalik, Pak. Perwakilan kementerian atau lembaga yang hadir pada hari ini, para kepala SKPD, Pak Inspektur, saya lihat. Perwakilan organisasi dan lembaga internasional, perwakilan Asosiasi Bisnis dan Kamar Dagang, para direktur utama badan usaha milik daerah atau yang hari ini hadir mewakili, Bapak Ibu, seluruh yang hadir dan hari ini, dan tidak lupa juga rekan-rekan dari media. Marilah kita panjatkan puji syukur kehadirat Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, Tuhan yang Maha Kuasa, yang pada hari ini memberikan nikmat kepada kita, terutama nikmat sehat, sehingga kita bisa bertemu pada kesempatan yang baik ini dalam acara Global City and Beyond. Bapak Ibu sekalian, bahwa pemerintah daerah sangat memerlukan mitra di dalam membangun kawasan. Oleh karena itu, kami dari pemerintah Provinsi DKI Jakarta sangat menyambut baik forum ini. Seperti kita ketahui bahwa pertumbuhan ekonomi Jakarta terus menunjukkan kinerja yang positif. Ekonomi Jakarta pada triwulan 1 2023 tumbuh 4,95% year on year. Pertumbuhan positif terutama didorong oleh peningkatan investasi, kinerja konsumsi rumah tangga yang tinggi, hingga masih kuatnya kinerja ekspor. Selain itu, menurunnya harga komoditas energi dan terjaganya permintaan domestik turut mendukung pertumbuhan ekonomi Jakarta. Dari sisi produksi, year on year hampir semua lapangan usaha tumbuh positif. Transportasi dan pergudangan mencatat kinerja tertinggi dengan tumbuh sebesar 17,43%. Mobilitas masyarakat yang semakin tinggi berdampak pada meningkatnya aktivitas transportasi di Jakarta. Jakarta Investment Forum 2023 merupakan forum bisnis dan investasi berskala internasional yang diselenggarakan oleh pemerintah Provinsi DKI Jakarta untuk mempromosikan proyek-proyek potensial yang ada di Jakarta kepada calon investor dalam dan luar negeri. Jakarta Investment Forum 2023 mengambil tema Global City and Beyond, sejalan dengan proyeksi Jakarta sebagai pusat ekonomi dan bisnis berskala global. Berbagai proyek pada sektor transportasi, properti, energi terbarukan, transit oriented development, waste management, pariwisata, sampai dengan infrastruktur kami tawarkan pada Jakarta Investment Forum kali ini. Diharapkan melalui mekanisme pembiayaan dan investasi yang optimal, Jakarta dapat melanjutkan kegiatan pembangunan jangka panjang serta proyek-proyek strategis yang menunjang kualitas kehidupan masyarakat untuk mewujudkan Jakarta sebagai kota untuk semua. Besar harapan saya peningkatan realisasi investasi akan memberikan multiplier effect di berbagai sektor yang akan mendorong pertumbuhan ekonomi. Akhir kata, saya berharap dengan adanya pelaksanaan Jakarta International Forum 2023 dapat memperkuat kemitraan dengan berbagai pemangku kepentingan untuk memastikan transformasi Jakarta menjadi kota ekonomi dan bisnis skala global. Mengakhiri sambutan saya bacakan pantun. Pagi-pagi menonton berita, banyak informasi terkini dari awak media. Mari tingkatkan investasi kota Jakarta demi sukses Jakarta untuk Indonesia. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih banyak Pak Joko. Kami mohon untuk tetap berada di atas panggung. We'd like to ask you to please remain on stage. And next, Bapak, selanjutnya, ladies and gentlemen, let us officially inaugurate the Jakarta Investment Forum 2023. So for that, allow me to invite to the stage Ibu Arliana Abu Bakar. We'd like to welcome you to please welcome on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, let us give her a big round of applause. And along with Ibu Arliana Abu Bakar, we'd also like to welcome Bapak Yuliot Tanjung. Let's give him a big round of applause. Along with Bapak Yuliot Tanjung, we'd also like to welcome Ibu Sri Haryati. Let's give her a big round of applause. Along with Ibu Sri, we'd also like to welcome Bapak Beni Agus Chandra. Let's give him a big round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, so on my count, please hit or strike the drums. Are we ready? Baik, kita sudah siap ya. And let's do the countdown now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Gentlemen, the Jakarta Investment Forum 2023 is officially in session. Let's give all of us here the biggest round of applause. What a great day for Jakarta and all of us. And now, Bapak Ibu, we'd like to ask you to please join us to the center stage and let us capture this great moment together with a photo session. Kami persilakan kepada teman-teman fotografer dan media untuk mengabadikan momen ini. Ladies and gentlemen, there we have it. We have officially inaugurated the Jakarta Investment Forum 2023, the global city and beyond. May future collaborations and partnerships continue to be fruitful, successful, and everlasting. And now, ladies and gentlemen, once again, let us give them a big round of applause. Terima kasih Bapak, terima kasih Ibu. Thank you for officially inaugurating the Jakarta Investment Forum 2023. What a great productive day that we're all having. And there's so much more that we need to learn as we start our plenary discussions later. And we'd like to once again thank you. Thank you Bapak, Ibu, terima kasih banyak. Thank you for officially inaugurating the Jakarta Investment Forum 2023 on global city and beyond. And as we know, Jakarta being our beautiful, very productive, hustling and bustling capital city, and Indonesia being the largest economy in Southeast Asia, as well as the largest island nation in the world and the fourth most populous country in the world. And there we have it. Ladies and gentlemen, what a great scope and importance to highlight on the Jakarta Investment Forum 2023. And ladies and gentlemen, after this inauguration, I'd like to once again remind all of you to please scan the barcode that we have on the screen as well as on your tables, as we'd like to kindly ask you to provide us with your feedback on the feedback form. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to kindly ask you to scan the QR code that is provided on your tables as well as soon to be provided on the screen. Please scan the QR code, ladies and gentlemen, to give us your feedback with regards to our event, the Jakarta Investment Forum 2023. And on this occasion, ladies and gentlemen, I'd also like to remind you that today we're going to have a very productive day. So after lunch later at 1:30 p.m., we will have our thematic discussion. So our first thematic discussion will be on unlocking a net zero Jakarta, which will be held in this very ballroom. Meanwhile, on our second thematic discussion will be on the future global city, on seizing infrastructure investment opportunities in Jakarta, which will be held in Caroline Ballroom 2. Meanwhile, on our third thematic discussion will be on the creating green investment opportunities and potential in Jakarta, which will be held in Newport 2. And our workshop on sustainability reporting for companies will commence in Newport 1. And distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and on this occasion, I'd like to once again extend our profound gratitude and sincere thanks to everyone for your participation and for your attendance here today. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, to really get the essence of Jakarta Investment Forum 2023, I'd like to direct your eyes onto the screen as we present to you this next video.
This event is proudly held by Jakarta Investment Center as part of the Department for Investment and Integrated One-Stop Services, Jakarta Provincial Government.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, what incredible progress all the days that we've taken and the development to reach this day, and that is to officially celebrate as we've inaugurated the Jakarta Investment Forum 2023. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, before we start with our plenary discussion, which is the first discussion of the Jakarta Investment Forum, I'd like to kindly ask you to please scan this barcode. We'd like to ask for your participation and providing your feedback by scanning this barcode that you can see on our big screen, and it is also presented on each of your tables. And please scan and complete this survey to rate our event. Thank you so much for your participation. And so, ladies and gentlemen, this is it. This is the moment that we've been waiting for. Our first discussion being the plenary discussion of Jakarta Investment Forum 2023. Please allow me to welcome our dearest moderator. Let's give a big round of applause for Rory Asari.
All right, good morning ladies and gentlemen. Apa kabarnya? I can't hear it from you. Apa kabarnya? Let's give round of applause for this session please. Boleh kita beri aplaus yang meriah untuk sesi pagi hari ini. So, good morning distinguished guests, delegates, investors, researchers, journalists, media, and all the participants, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor for me, Rory Ashari, to welcome all of you at this plenary discussion themed Global City and Beyond. We have a very diverse group today, this morning, that we are ready to discuss a very interesting topic, investment opportunities in Jakarta as well, and it is also exciting that we have a very diverse background of our participants here. But before we dive deeper into our discussion today, please allow me to give a glimpse of what is actually Global City and Beyond, the theme that we have this morning. So global cities play a very important role at the global and regional level. That's all that we know. And large urban centers have a very significant competitive advantages and serve as a primary needs in the ever more interconnected global economic system. And as part of Jakarta's ongoing commitment to strengthen the city's economic influence in Indonesia, while also securing its position as a more prominent global city, Jakarta envisions strengthening its local identities to create a unique selling point. This commitment is manifested through the formulation of Jakarta Regional Spatial Planning, or Rencana Tata Ruang and Wilayah 2042, Governor's Regulation number 31, year 2022 on detailed spatial planning, and also Governor's Regulation number 25, year 2022 on Regional Development Plan from year 2023 to 2026. And all in all these investment and all this discussion, all these initiatives will ease the doing of business in Jakarta, as well as encouraging business and investment competitiveness for Jakarta as a global city. So, ladies and gentlemen, there are at least 5 subtopics that we are ready to discuss in this plenary discussion. Number 1 is the empowerment of Jakarta's economy by attracting more global investment to accelerate Jakarta's transition to be a global city. We'll be talking about investment a lot here and why Jakarta is very attractive still to attract investment to the city. Number 2 is the role of state-owned enterprises in creating a global city. That's why we are inviting an official from the State-Owned Enterprises Ministry to discuss more about how the ministry and also the nation is gearing up and also brushing up the investment climate in the country and especially in the city. Number 3 is about Jakarta post-capital city relocation towards a global city. This is a mixed feeling between Jakarta officials and also national officials that are we ready? And are we that, excited to turn Jakarta into a global city? And what does it take to turn such big initiative from a capital city into a global business city? And number 4 is supporting global city vision by enhancing intercity connection. We'll be talking about intercity interconnection and transportation, whether Jakarta will be ready to have an interconnected transportation system. We've got MRT, we've got LRT, but what does it take to be fully integrated and interconnected? And last but not least is about accelerating Jakarta's development towards a business, economy, and tourism city according to global city standards. These are the 5 subtopics that we're about to discuss for today, and I'm very excited, I hope you are too, that we're gonna learn and we're gonna gain insights about this topic, global city and beyond. And please allow me now to sit, as I'd like to invite all the 5 panelists on stage. Now, I would like to invite the first panelist, Mr. Diki Kartikoyono. He completed his bachelor's degree in accounting and received a master's degree in management from George Washington University. Pak Diki started his career at Bank Indonesia in 1995. He is currently serving as head of the Payment System Policy Department since 2023. Pak, welcome. Good morning. I haven't invited, but he's very excited to share his insights to us. And moreover, he has served as head of the Human Resources Department, head of Bank Indonesia London Representative Office from 2020 to 2022, and head of Strategic Management and Governance Department from 2022 to 2023. Let's give a big round of applause once again for Mr. Diki Kartikoyono, Assistant Governor of Bank Indonesia. And our next panelist would be Mr. Rabin Hattari. He is a secretary of the Ministry of State-Owned Enterprises who was appointed on May 24th, 2023, just recently. Bachelor of Arts in Economics and Mathematics from the University of Georgia, Master of Management at the University of Indonesia, and holds a PhD in Economics at George Mason University. And prior to holding his current position, he was an expert staff for industry since 2021, Asian Development Bank in Manila since 2010, with his last position being Senior Economist, Regional Cooperation and Integration Division, Sustainable Development and Climate Change Department. Without further ado, please help me to give a big round of applause for Mr. Rabin Hattari, Secretary of the Ministry-Owned Enterprises of the Republic of Indonesia. All right. While we're waiting for Pak Rabin Hattari, I'd like to move on to the third panelist. The third panelist was supposed to be Mr. Himawan Haryoga, but at this special occasion, he will be represented by Mr. Osmar Muazzin Mungkasa, the Chief Expert Planner, Ministry of Development Planning, or Bappenas. Holding a master's degree in urban and regional planning from the University of Pittsburgh and PhD in public economics from the University Indonesia, Mr. Osmar was appointed as Deputy Governor of Jakarta for Spatial Planning and Environment in November 2015. He held several key managerial posts at the central government of Indonesia. Mr. Mungkasa was appointed as the Director of Planning and Budgeting at the Ministry of Housing from 2010 to 2013. He also acted as the Chief Resilience Officer of Jakarta Berketahanan or Resilient Jakarta, whose responsibility is to ensure the coordination and formulation of Jakarta Resilience Strategy document. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Osmar Muazzin Mungkasa, Chief Expert Planner, Ministry of Development Planning, Bappenas. Pak Osmar, thank you so much. All right, as the fourth panelist, we've got Professor Wihana Kirana Jaya, who is the Special Staff for Economic Affairs and Transportation Investment to the Minister of Transportation of the Republic of Indonesia. Previously, Professor Wihana served as the Dean of the Faculty of Economics and Business at UGM, Yogyakarta, from 2012 to 2016, Deputy Dean for Collaboration and Business Development, still from the same university, and Director of the Center for Economic Studies and Public Policy. Professor Wihana was appointed to the Board of Commissioners members of PT Pelabuhan Indonesia 4 in 2017. He has also been appointed as a Commissioner of PT Angkasa Pura 1 in 2020. Without further ado, please welcome Professor Wihana, Special Staff to the Minister for Economic Affairs and Transportation Investment. We'd also like to welcome Mr. Rabin. And last but not least, we have the last panelist, Head of Board for Regional Enterprises Development, Jakarta Provincial Government, Dr. Nasruddin Joko Surjono. So before serving as head of the board for Regional Enterprises Development, he previously served as the head of Regional Development Planning Board in 2020 to 2022, and deputy head of the Regional Financial Management Agency, and also deputy head of board for Local Finance Management. Please welcome head of board for Regional Enterprises Development, Jakarta Provincial Government, Dr. Nasruddin Djoko Surjono. I'd like to give a bit of intro about our, rule of thumb for our discussion for today, that each panelist will be given 10 minutes allocation to present their materials, and you are invited to ask or to drop questions on our Q&A session that follow the discussion session later if the time permits. But for now, I'd like to invite the first presenter, the first panelist to present his presentation for 10 minutes. Let's start with Mr. Diki Kartikoyono, Assistant Governor of Bank Indonesia. Pak Diki, the time is yours.
Thank you, Rory.
You can actually sit down or use that podium if you'd like.
Okay, I better use the podium then. Terima kasih ya, Pak. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished speakers, distinguished guests, thank you for having me this morning. It is my great pleasure and honor to speak before you. Talking about Jakarta is always interesting. As a capital city, Jakarta has been an attractive destination for investment due to its growing economy and various sector of development. Some of key factors that have been significantly contribute to the development of Jakarta include technology, such as fintech that I will talk later, real estate, infrastructure, consumer goods, and of course manufacturing. Let me update on the digital development and fintech development to give a sense of progression about the capacity, the capability, and also about the potential, how it be empower the economic development of the country. Let me start with the digitalization. Speaking of digitalization, I believe that the future is already here in Jakarta. During the pandemic, shift in preference has been visible with digital payments like QR code, digital banking, and many e-commerce platforms have gained traction. We are a country with almost 70% of population at their productive age, demographic dividends, which is prone to absorb digitalization. The future of money and payments are undoubtedly digital. Next slide. As we can see on this slide, progress in domestic payment has been rapid. In Indonesia case, rise of digitalization payment has been tremendous with 2025 Indonesian payment system blueprint. We already lay out blueprint for the public. Emerged as a game changer in the economy. Let me elaborate it further. First, we're doing the regulatory reform. In response to digitalization, we found the urgency to move from entity-based, rule-based approach regulation to activity-based. So it's become more easier to get the license, to expand the business, and also, of course, doing the innovation. 135 regulations have been streamlined into only 8 regulation accordingly, providing more clarity to the industry to comply with the regulation. As a result, nowadays we have about 1,300 applications in a year to do the, innovation, all the expansion on the digitalization. Secondly, standardization. We have established a national standard QR. We call it CRIS, not QRIS, but CRIS. A QR code for Indonesian standard. Up to date, CRIS has been connecting about 37 million users and 27 million merchants. 92% growth as a micro enterprise include. Similarly, digitalization in transportation, Jaklingko in Jakarta, and government transaction, including a domestic credit card scheme, are ongoing. We have established a national open API payment standard, or we call it SNAP, on July 1st, 2022, to facilitate open interconnection between a player in the ecosystem. So everything now become 3I. We call it 3I: integrated, interconnected, and interoperated. That's become the real game changers in the payment system and of course in the digital environment. And we also established a new payment infrastructure for retail payment. We call it BI-FAST, as an instant secure transaction fee down by 60%, and provide settlement service in central bank money to about 123 members, 119 banks and 2 non-banks, representing about 94% of share. So the growth is quite significant, about 457 trillion rupiah in value within 2 months. Next slide. Having all of those development in our path, indeed the digitalization of the payment system is a key driver for the digitalization of government program. We talk about government institution now. Especially for social assistance, we call it Bansos, electronification for the local government transaction, and transportation. We connect all the transportation system within one platform of digital payment. This is achieved through customer-centric principles, multi-channel and multi-instruments approaches, share infrastructure, and expanded application utilization. Let me elaborate the 3 areas. In social assistance digitization, the program for, hopeful family food assistance and Indonesian education program and also energy subsidies directly touch upon the receiver because of the digitalization. Expanding social assistance to encourage a customer-centric by establishing ecosystem to use their social assistance to the small medium enterprise within their area. Omni-channel, interconnected, and of course using the technology such as CRIS. Bank Indonesia plays an active role in supporting digitization through business model preparation. We of course doing a collaboration, coordination with the related stakeholders, especially on the ministers, social ministers, or the related ministers. Secondly, electronification on local government transaction. Digital payment are used to support e-tax, e-retribution, and other digital services. And accelerating local government transaction aim to improve financial governance and increase regional revenue potential. CRIS is widely used by 401 local governments for various transactions, parking fees, the retribution for the car, agrarian affairs, such as lands tax, spatial planning, and national lands agency. And thirdly, in the transportation digitization, Digitizing payment in transportation improve the efficiency and quality. Integration of transportation modes such as in Jakarta area, and we also now developing the multi-lane free flow for the toll road, is a flagship project to accelerate transportation digitization. This is my, next slide please. The impact of government program digitization is clearly shown in this chart. The digitization can be directly experienced through improvement of financial inclusion, program quality, governance, fiscal resiliency, and efficiency. Digitalization also promote improvement governance in financial management in, of course, in the many local government. Strengthening community resilience, and of course, it's clearly also help the subsistence people in the poverty area become more, wealth, increase their wealth. In transportation, digitalization serves as a catalyst for increased users and revenue, supporting the green economy by reducing greenhouse gas emission. Let me stop here, and I think it's about the interest of time. I'm ready to answer questions, but let me also quote the Frank Sinatra song. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Jakarta, not New York. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pak Diki, for your insightful facts and also data. Now, before we move on to the next panelist, I'd like to invite you once again, ladies and gentlemen, if later the time permits, you are invited to drop your questions or raise your hand. And this event is not only can be enjoyed offline, but also online, because we are transmitted and also broadcasted through our YouTube channel and also Zoom. So let's now move to the second speaker, Mr. Rabin Hattari, Secretary of the Ministry on Enterprises of the Republic of Indonesia. Pak Rabin, the time is yours.
Thank you. I'll sit down. Good morning. How are y'all doing? Have a good time? Thank you. Now, I think the title is about how to make Jakarta to become a global city, right? Now, when one thinks about global city, one think about the likes of Singapore, right? One thinks the likes of Tokyo, New York, right? One thing that one can draw out of those cities is how easy it is, right? To get around those cities, how clean it is, right? Now, then again, in here, what is the role of the SOEs? Now, how can SOE be a part of Jakarta venturing into becoming a global city? So back in 2020, and let me recap this, when Pak Eric, as a Minister of SOE, took the helm of the Minister of SOE, we had this new roadmap. This roadmap basically mapped out what we plan to do the next 4 years back in 2020. We know that the role of the SOE, we have a dual mandate. SOEs in Indonesia has a dual mandate, which is we need to create value. That means that we need to provide dividends for the country's state coffer. Second, we need to be development agents. How do we do this? Right? To do this, we need to be able to innovate ourselves, to introduce new business models. Second, we need to be able to attract new technologies, right? By innovating new technologies. Third, we need to attract new investments, right? How do we attract new investments? We can attract new investment, whether that's domestic or foreign capital investments that can be collaborated through our Indonesia sovereign wealth funds, or going directly to our SOE. And lastly, we need to build our talent. These are the 4 components that will help Indonesian SOE to unleash its potentials to become the engine of growth of Indonesia. Now, with this roadmap, we look at how can we help Jakarta to become a global city. This is something that we in the ministry think, what are the key things that Jakarta is required to become a global city? First, Jakarta needs to become the economic center, because when you look around the global cities, it's usually a global city is also the economic center, right? In this case, it already has that ingredients. Jakarta hosts Jakarta Stock Exchange, or Indonesia Stock Exchange. In fact, 23% of Jakarta Stock Exchange market caps belongs to our SOE. This is roughly about 14.3 billion US dollars, right? So close to 1/4 of Indonesian stock exchange is being run by our state-owned enterprises. So we are an integral part of Jakarta's effort to become a global city. Second, accessibility and integrated connectivities. I will later on explain about some of the key projects that we in the SOE are collaborating with the local government, the provincial governments, as well with the private sector partners in order to improve the connectivities, right? And also the transportations within the city of Jakarta, and also linking Jakarta with other cities in Indonesia. Third, livability and quality of life. And this is something I think is very important for Jakarta to establish itself as a global city. Next, please. This is a case study that we look at when we look at the light rail transit projects that we have with the city of Jakarta. This is a project that has been ongoing for the past 3 to 4 years, something that we are very proud of, working together with the provincial government of Jakarta and also with the central governments, with the Ministry of Transports, where we are currently developing a modern network of railways within the city of Jakarta, right? With the hopes that this will be an integrated multimodal systems that will integrate it not only the light rail transit system, with also with the Jakarta MRTs, with the Jakarta bus systems, and also with the Jakarta's commuter trains. Same the ones that you will find when you go to Hong Kong or Singapore, right? Now, we hope to launch this and open this hopefully by the mid of August. Right? We are also working, next one please. And this is another project that we are very proud of also. It's the first fast train high-speed railway project that we have, collaborating with also with our foreign partners, linking Jakarta to other cities to railway projects, right? Which is also making sure that Jakarta is connected and making sure that Jakarta becomes a global city. And this is ensuring that Jakarta not only becomes a global city, but can be also expanding its agglomerations, right? Its metropolitan expansions. Next, please. In transport also and logistic, in addition to transport, we also expand to the logistic part. We in the SOE also developing a modern seaport terminal to Jakarta that hopefully can enhance its logistics supports with the rest of the world. This is a good example of new pre-op development where our SOE port developer Pelindo is in collaboration with our foreign partner to expand the Priok port, the main seaport of Jakarta. They have finished the phase 1, which increased the capacity up to 1.5 million TEUs, and now currently in phase 2 for another 1.5 million TEUs. Next. To improve the living quality of citizens of Jakarta, our SOEs is also in collaboration with our local governments entity are developing transit-oriented development in a number of areas in Jakarta. As you all know, TOD has become an essential tool to manage growth, reduce environmental impact, and improve quality of urban living. This is something that one also sees whenever one visits other global cities in the world. Next. In order to also improve the living quality of life, one also needs to introduce new tourism sites, especially in the city of Jakarta, where work-life balance becomes matter, especially in urban life. Therefore, we in the SOE work together with private sectors to develop new tourism destinations within the city of Jakarta. One good case is the development of Sunda Kelapa Integrated Heritage Tourism. Next. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, this infrastructural progress has not only eased mobility, provide new living space, introduce new idea of how to live in the global cities, but also attract foreign investments, creating new opportunities, strengthen Jakarta's positions on the global map. But you know what? We're not stopping here. The next phase of our journey in the SOE will focus on digital transformation and also on renewable energy. We in the SOE recognize the importance of harnessing technologies to enhance productivities, improve public services, and foster innovations. Therefore, our SOEs will collaborate with international tech giants, local startups, to create a vibrant digital ecosystems which allows Jakarta to emerge as a tech hub in the regions. Our SOE have also prioritized renewable energy, aligning with global sustainability goals. It is important to note that the transition towards cleaner and more efficient energy resources can position Jakarta as leader in the fight against climate change. With that note, I end my speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Rabin, for your insightful presentation, and it really reiterates the fact that SOE is indeed a big deal for Indonesia. As you mentioned, that 23% of emittents at the IDX, which is located in Jakarta, is run by SOE ministry. We can imagine how big and how matter our SOE ministry is, and the requirements for a global city requires also accessibility and integrated connectivity, which SOE is at the forefront of realizing that. As we see, LRT is going to be launched in August, and the fast train connecting Jakarta and also Bandung will be launched very soon as well. But the point about livability and quality of life, as Jakarta is also one of the most populated, in terms of the quality of the air, it's one of the worst in the world. We're going to be discussing on that and touching upon that too, ensure and to make sure that we are doing our job in mitigating that fact. Now, let's now move on to the third speaker that we have. We're going to present Mr. Osmar Muadzin Mungkasa, Chief Expert Planner, Ministry of Development Planning, or Bappenas. Pak Osmar, the time is yours, Pak.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, Pak Rory. And good morning, distinguished panelists. Good morning, distinguished guests. Before I start my presentation, allow me to extend the apology from the Deputy of Regional Development, Bappenas, for his absence on these important events, and allow me to represent him. We are going to talk about the what is the global city of Jakarta would be in the next future, from the what do you call it, from the view of the central government. And we start by inform that currently the government of Indonesia finalizing the National Long-Term Development Plan 2025-2045 with the title Indonesia Must Vision Sovereign, Advanced and Sustainable Archipelago. In the context of urban development, the direction of this National Long-Term Plan is to put cities as centers of economic growth, thus supporting economic transformation through, at least through 4 steps. First is strengthening transportation infrastructure, connectivity, and digital connectivity. And the second is implementing inclusive and sustainable urban development with reference to the new capital. The third, development of dynamic institutional setting and strengthening of regulation on urban management. And of course, the last is the development of the new capital as an economic super hub. And then Jakarta, especially in the long-term development plan, would be developed by taking into account the policy guideline as follows. 1, we need to strengthening cross-administrative boundary cooperation in metropolitan of Jakarta, because we have an issue, we call it a fragmented governance. We have 3 provinces and 8 kabupaten and kota, cities in metropolitan of Jakarta. So this is one of our big issue actually now. So strengthening the cross-administrative boundary cooperation is one of our target for the next 20 years. The second is development of public mass transportation and Tanjung Priok Port in the metropolitan of Jakarta. The third, improvement of environmental management, in particular in monitoring air and water quality. And this is all about metropolitan, not only Jakarta per se, but including the surrounding area. Development of urban infrastructure to support the role of Jakarta as inclusive and global city. Not only global, but inclusive. Development of urban and medical tourism. So now, not only urban as a tourism target, but including the medical tourism. Development of global higher education hub and strengthening the quality of research and innovation centers. We would like that Jakarta would be the one of the really good in the research and innovation centers for the next 20 years. Simultaneously with this, the central government also in the process of preparing the Provincial Government of the Special Region of Jakarta Act. It is a new rule, a new regulation. It is envisioned that despite no longer be the capital city of Indonesia, the Special Region of Jakarta Province remain as one of the centers for the national economy. So don't worry about capital moving to IKN. We believe that Jakarta is still one of the important city in the world, especially in Asia. Currently, the law is in the discussion among parties in government, Jakarta provincial government and national government. Public consultation has been held several times, and we are getting many inputs from others. Example of special authority to be given to Jakarta is like management of national road to be transferred to Jakarta provincial government. It is one of the example of what we call it a special authority given to Jakarta. The law would also allow Jakarta to, I'm sorry, I forget to go to the next. Okay. The law also allow Jakarta to execute inclusive urban renewal through, for example, land value capture and utilizing national assets. Because when we move to a new capital, we have the central government left many high-rise building in Jakarta. So this is one of our issues. So we would like to make sure that utilizing national asset is one of our tasks for the next 20 years. What would be the prospect of Jakarta becoming a global city? One is we believe that now Jakarta is on the right track. The rank of global city of Jakarta now is not really good, but 45 is on the track. But since we are going to, let's say, we are like optimists to make sure that Jakarta would be at least top 10 in the next 20 years. So we also believe that this is what you call it, investment opportunity for all of us to invest in Jakarta. So now Jakarta has the availability of fairly advanced infrastructure such as physical and economic infrastructure, advantage, superior human quality, investment attractiveness, market side potential and logistic, digital transformation and opportunities to develop green investment and green economy. I think green investment and green economy is something new for Jakarta, and this is really the opportunity for all of us to invest in this regard. However, as I mentioned before, improvement and innovation is still a key aspect to consider for Jakarta, and this is, as I mentioned also before, could be the opportunities for investment to all of us. And we find that talking about global city, we find that there are 3 cities in the world that we need to adopt their their approach. One is London, the second is New York, and the third is I believe is Tokyo. So by having these 3 cities as our role model, we we suggest that the provincial government of Jakarta need to look very closely to what have been done by these 3 cities in the world. So by doing this, we believe that Jakarta would be much more easier to reach their target to be at least the top 10 of the global city in the world. So I would like to add some principle that we need to add it into our approach in Jakarta, that collaboration is a must. If only the government do this, and then I believe that we are going to fail to achieve the global city in the next future. But if we are doing this all together, the government, the non-government, and then hopefully we will reach our target to be one of global city in the world. By saying this, I would like to close my presentation, and then actually I have a mixed feeling here, because I used to work for Jakarta government, and now I work for the central government. So I'm okay. Thank you very much, and then success for the Jakarta.
Thank you. Maybe that's the reason why you know exactly about Jakarta, Pak Osmar. And Pak Osmar previously also pointed out that he is also optimistic that Jakarta is on the right track to become a global city, even after the relocation of the capital city. And he also pointed out that collaboration among central and regional government, non-government players, private sectors, SMSEs, and other stakeholders are very important and is a must. Now let's move on to the fourth speaker. We've got Professor Wihana Kirana Jaya as the Special Staff to the Minister for Economic Affairs and Transportation Investment from the Ministry of Transportation, the Republic of Indonesia. Prof. Wihana, the time is yours.
Distinguished speakers and attendants, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, I'd like to give a message from my minister. He is very appreciation with this program today, and best regards to all of you, from Budi Karya Sumadi as our Minister of Transportation. Okay. A second thing, I would like also to quote from Jane Jacob. Jane Jacob is one of the writer about city as one of place for laboratorium, try and error, failure and success, and city building and city design. And this is what a city is: bit and piece of supplement each other and support each other. So, in this morning, we have to make a collaboration, participation, inclusive and innovative. Okay, let me start. Minister of Transportation is not only for a regulator, but sometimes we also a builder. Sometimes we also are operator as well. So, when we're talking about Jakarta as a great city, we know that many demand for infrastructures, especially for transportation. The Secretary of State also mentioned also, but infrastructure is very important to solve the problem of big city like Jakarta. That's why I start from the bottlenecking, what the city bottlenecking, and then we are going to continue about what Minister Transportation policy, vision, mission, program, and then what our financing strategy. We have already understand that to build the heavy infrastructure like MRT, LRT, BRT, and also green transportation, in Jakarta, we need some of many big financing. Our national budget is not enough to cope this demand, and local budget, Jakarta budget also is not enough. That's why creative financing is one of the big strategic using public-private partnership. Like we develop a second phase of MRT. We continue to put LRT as well, and BRT as well. Okay, let's start with slide number 2. As we all aware that all urban transportation play important role in planning, provision, and transport system. As we can see, some condition Jabodetabek dominant by a private motorcycle. And then speed of public transportation during peak hours very limited. Congestion is very big. And the money, lose money, according to Bappenas, very big. Almost 27 trillion per year. So we enjoy with the bad quality of air, and then we have a bad of quality of congestion. If we calculate in economic terms, this very high money to spend with nothing, especially in congestion in Jakarta. So there's some of bottlenecking. So we can see the impact of the congestion and traffic in Jakarta create a problem to people, planet, and profit. The profit getting loose and quality of the profit, and also the economic also getting worse and worse, and also the environment is also the quality of environment also getting worse and worse. This is a topic of the bottlenecking. So based on the indicator mobility in Jabodetabek, As we can see from year 2018 to year 2020 prediction, 26, the traffic jams, we can calculate, calculate 180 minutes or 3 hours. If we don't have any good management and transport system in Jakarta, we can imagine that after 10 years and the next 10 years, so we have a lot of problem, especially in the congestion, in terms of motorcycle, traffic, bus traffic and road traffic. It's very difficult for us to cope this problem. So the future challenge of transportation, slide number 4, how bring the seamless green urban transportation. The Greater Jakarta is a populated and urbanized area, constantly experiencing an unorganized user traffic behavior, inadequate of quality of number of public transportation. Also, unbalanced quality or number of public transportation. And then government of Indonesia is striving to integrate around all urban public transportation and pedestrian as well as by lane, and also need the stakeholder to make this happen. Minister authorization using the strategic AC, one avoid, make the people to live in TOD, transit-oriented development, to avoid the using the personal car or personal vehicles. Try to use the stay in TOD. And then AC, the shift, the Minister of Transportation tried to subsidize for bus company, especially to provide public transport using by bus. And then we change to electric vehicle, EV. This is one of the strategies that we already conduct. Besides, we build infrastructure like MRT, LRT, BRT, and other things. Slide number 5. So the government has developed several policy and plan. Government create regulation, start from law down to president decree, president regulations, and then down to minister regulation, and also down to the director general and promote in our policy. This is to try to reduce the bottlenecking that I mentioned before. And then slide number 6, Minister of Transportation tried to make the vision, the vision, value, and target, especially how to reduce the problem. The target we can see from there is 8 targets, especially make transportation more effective, efficient, safe, secure, comfortable, affordable community without being limited by administrative area. So we need a lot of demand, people mobility, demographic mobility, increased population to reduce the bottlenecking that I mentioned before. And then government introduced the regulation by law, by minister instruction and so on. And then the strategy how to build the infrastructure. That's why we use the creative financing. For instance, jump to slide number 9. Concerning the agenda, we know that our financing only cope 80% from the whole of financing. 20% of the whole of financing. That's why we need public-private partnerships. So, according to slide 11, slide 12, and slide 13, we can see that we need some more expansion to build MRT, from not only from south to the north after HI to Kota, and then from Kota to Ancol. This is south to north MRT. We still need some financing. Please come to us, discuss with us, collaborate with Jakarta, because sometimes the project, we call it solicited, unsolicited project, and unsolicited means the ID come from Jakarta government, solicited come ID from central government, that we can share So a lot of project can be attract in this occasion, especially not only to expand MRT, we still have a lot of program for MRT, not only south north, also we need of west to east, according to Jabodetabek. And then we develop also LRT, which is more financing, not only from loan from Japan, from Korea, but also we attract from private sector as well. Yeah. So please come to us and discuss about the possibility. Last but not least, especially, I would like to ask, if we're talking about prediction on transportation, we need some new idea. Yeah? We call it the new idea to capture the behavior mobility of people, to mention of our demand, real demand targets. Yeah? Because without real demand target, we cannot predict our tariff or our price using that. That's why sometimes we discuss only the supply side, but sometimes we neglect what the demand side. Yeah. That's why we need some future, please, last slide. We need something like urban analytic ecosystem data. Yeah. So data not only vertical, horizontal, but cross area of activity, like they mentioned in Jakarta is center of financial, tourism, education, and services. I think that's all. Thank you very much for pay attention. Thank you.
Professor Wihana, thank you very much. And he also pointed out that on the one hand, traffic is still one of the biggest challenges that Jakarta is still facing. But on the other hand, Indonesia, especially Jakarta, is very lucrative for investors in the sector of transportation, as the city is very aggressive in seeking to build more MRT corridors and also other infrastructures. Now moving on to the last panelist, we'd like to have Dr. Nasruddin Djoko Surjono, the Head of Board for Regional Enterprise Development, Jakarta Provincial Government. Let's give a big round of applause for Dr. Nasruddin.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon us. Good afternoon to distinguished speaker, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Jakarta Province Government, firstly I would like to convey our gratitude to all participants who spare their time to attend Jakarta Investment Forum and this plenary discussion with us here at Regis Jakarta. Let's start from our leader commitment. According to the Presidential Regulation number 60/2020 concerning special plan for urban area, in the Article 21, paragraph 2, Jakarta is stated to remain as the center of governance activities, including government and diplomatic areas, trade and service centers on international, national, regional scale, and others. And following the new slogan for Jakarta, Sukses Jakarta for Indonesia, the Jakarta Provincial Government is striving to realize the commitment in making Jakarta to become a global city that serves as a center of economic and business activities on regional and global scale. Despite the capital city reallocation next year, we are enthusiastic that Jakarta will remain an outstanding spot that offers numerous prospects for business and investment collaboration for everyone. Following President Jokowi's aspiration, we are certain that our economic legacy as the largest contributor to regional and global economic growth will be sustained. Currently, around 70%, Jakarta contribute to national growth economy. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, if we look up to the Global Power City Index, or GPCI, this measurement is commonly used. Next slide, please. This measurement is commonly used as an annual ranking that evaluates the comprehensive power and attractiveness of major city worldwide. According to the Global Power City Index, Jakarta has made significant steps and is currently positioned at 45th city in the GPCY rank. Aside from that, we are also positioned as the 4th among all ASEAN cities. This remarkable achievement highlights the Jakarta economic positive growth in recent years. As per today, we can conclude that Jakarta is already in greater position globally, especially within the dynamic and competitive market in ASEAN region. Therefore, for the next future, revitalizing our economy and transforming our infrastructure will indeed become our top priority in order to strengthen the global city status for Jakarta. Next slide. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to maintain a global city status, there are certain aspects and sectors that require our highest attention, such as public infrastructure, waste and clean water management, telecommunication, housing, and healthcare facilities. Improvement in these sectors can not only strengthen Jakarta's status as global city and the capital of the ASEAN cities, but important thing also to improve the overall quality of life for Jakarta's citizens and contribute to the sustainable development of the city. Referring to the ASEAN economic growth data published by the IMF, the economic growth in the ASEAN region has shown resilience in the face of global uncertainty despite many challenges. This growth also indicates that in global scale, Indonesia is currently leading the ASEAN countries' GDP and population, followed by other countries such as Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, and Philippines. As we can see here, these ASEAN countries also had contributed to almost 71% of the FDI number in Jakarta by opening their 1,534 companies subsidiaries in Jakarta. Supporting this among the other prominent ASEAN cities, Jakarta maintained growth rate 5.25% in 2022. This steady advancement will stimulate a well-balanced and sustainable economic strategy. Following this positive growth in ASEAN region, we are confident that we will remain as one of the fastest growing regions of the world in the future. Next slide. For the past few years, Jakarta has dominated and contributed almost 60.654% to the national economic growth. With such major contribution, Jakarta will continue to be the pioneer and a main booster of national economic growth. Jakarta economic growth experienced a decrease in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. However, in 2021, you can see our economic growth had recovered and was able to reach 3.56% of growth and continued to increase in 2022 by 5.25%. This is also supported by national economic growth, which also has increased in 2021 from 3.7% to 5.31% in 2022. Usually we have the gap around 1% between Jakarta and national. Jakarta investment supporting this, Jakarta also has shown a tremendous investment realization growth in 2022. Next slide. That reached 38.3% years on years, from 103.3 trillion in 2021 to 143 trillion rupiah in 2022. That consisting of 89.2 trillion of domestic direct investment and 553.7 trillion rupiah, or equal to $3.7 billion of foreign direct investment. Furthermore, in Q1 2023, Jakarta investment realization able to reach up 36.5 trillion rupiah, that consisting 19 trillion rupiah of domestic direct investment and 17.5 trillion of foreign direct investment. Our economy and investment continue to show a positive growth in annually and quarterly basis until this year. This achievement has pushed our confidence to innovate and create a better economic and investment ecosystem in Jakarta onward. Alongside this fact, our FDI in Q1 2023 is dominated by transportation, warehouse, and telecommunication sector that reached to 20 trillion rupiah, or equal to 37.2% of total FDI growth in Jakarta. Meanwhile, our domestic direct investment is dominated by construction that reached to 18.8 trillion rupiah, or equal to 21% of total domestic investment contribution to Jakarta. Given all total domestic investment contribution to Jakarta, we encourage all business entity and investor to take advantage of this business prospect available by this highly lucrative market in Jakarta. According to the data investment realization in 2022, we have discovered that South Jakarta has become the most prime location for business and investment activity within foreign direct investment, contribute to 31.9 trillion rupiah. And this growth also followed by direct domestic investment that contribute 31.2 trillion. In line with, we put a target to optimize this distribution of investment of the city. And in order to achieve this goal, the Jakarta provincial government will focus on three main economic strategy. Firstly, by maintaining contribution Jakarta biggest economic sector. Secondly, developing new economic potential in Jakarta. And thirdly, establishing a center of investment and finance. Aligning with economic agenda in becoming global city, we have created a master plan already that will focus on our main objective, that is to exploring untapped economy and business potential in Jakarta. We are going to put our focus on maintaining growth of economic and business contribution, especially in logistics sector, trade, commerce, green industry. These three sectors have been recorded as the highest sector that contribute to Jakarta economic growth, followed by construction and other services. There is also a new potential discovered in the green industry sector to maintain our economic growth. The Jakarta provincial government will also begin to enforce the green industrial certification by providing the training and supervision for several prioritized sectors. Secondly, we are planning to open developing a new economic potential in Jakarta, providing an ease of doing business service and giving special incentive for prioritized sector. Also in transforming, we have Pulau Seribu, Thousand Island, to become world-class tourism destination. Also improve public transportation infrastructure, especially support business of our local small, medium-sized enterprises. One of important aspects to be adopted is to create healthy and friendly business investment ecosystem. Following this initiative, Jakarta provincial government working on granting both fiscal and non-fiscal. Nowadays, we have local state budget 83 trillion rupiah. And we have also regional owned enterprise that also contribute as special mission vehicle of Jakarta government. In accordance with the incentive strategy, we intend to welcome all potential business partners. The last one is to prepare Jakarta as center of investment and finance. There are three elements that are valuable to support achieving this goal. Making Jakarta as a center of institution for monetary, investment, finance, and improve and integrate our business investment licensing system, and thirdly, to improve our business and investment ecosystem onward. Ladies and gentlemen, to close this presentation on behalf of Jakarta provincial government, I would like to share our confidence in inviting all of us, the business entities and investors, to collaborate with Jakarta, as we are supported the fact that according to IMF Global Economic Forecast, Indonesia is set to surpass regional economic growth of 4.6% and global economic growth of 2.8%. And Jakarta will remain to hold highly significant role as the engine of national economic growth. Furthermore, we also become the center business trade, financial services, monetary, and investment activity. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam, Pak Nasruddin. Thank you very much. And thank you for giving us assurance that Jakarta is getting better, getting stronger, and we are going towards the right direction as the city is ranked number 45 in the Global Power City Index and ranked 4th among all ASEAN members. And Jakarta's economic growth has been quite satisfactory, coming from -2.39 in 2022 to become 5.25% in 2022. The previous one was 2020 during the pandemic, but now it is at 5.25% in 2022. So this is a very great achievement. And Jakarta's investment realization in Q1 2023 has also increased 7% based on Q-on-Q or quarter-on-quarter. And the sectors that has been realizing the investment in the city are transportation and telco, housing, trade, and also mining. And this is, one of the most important aspects from his presentation is that many promising projects are underway to boost the economy of Jakarta and attract more investment coming in, including preparing Jakarta as the center of investment and finance. So thank you very much once again, Pak Nasruddin, for the assurance. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to start off our discussion session, and you may please pay attention, and if you'd like to ask questions, if the time permits, you are invited to do so. But I'd like to start off with a question for Pak Diki from Bank of Indonesia. Okay, you missed your microphone. That's all right. Pak Diki, you earlier mentioned that 70% of Indonesia's population now goes digital, right? So progress in digital payment has always been tremendous. But what are the key challenges encountered in the process of digitizing the government programs, and how can we mitigate those challenges, Pak?
Thank you, Rory. In fact, the challenges is not really clear in our side, but again, this is the role of the investor is really important. How to establish the robust infrastructure in telecommunication, because digital needs IT, digital needs network. And I think the geographic challenges become obvious for Indonesia.
Yes.
As an archipelagic country, the spread of the country may be similar with the spread of the US. And we need to, work together with, of course, this related minister, and of course, we do our best effort to establish the, the telco infrastructure. That's the most challenging on the digitalization, especially on the payment system. But it's getting better. It's getting better. We try to find every new possibility adapting the technology.
Okay, so when it comes to your optimism in having, our, let's say, Jabodetabek area interconnected through digital inclusion, how optimistic are you? And when will it be that all this Jabodetabek area, because we're talking, focused on Jakarta, will be realized, Pak?
Thank you. For Jakarta, there's no issue on the technology. The issues is really on the adoption on the, again, the adequacy of the digital payment itself. Because digital payment sometimes perceived as a, kind of, complex issues.
Yeah.
We need to talk with the banks, we need to talk with the, we call it a PGP, the payment system provider.
Because we're not talking about Papua, we're not
No,
talking about
no,
Sulawesi, but we're talking about the
Jakarta.
satellite
Yes,
cities
that's
around
right here,
Jakarta,
yes.
right?
The ecosystem need to be built together. So again, we need to sit together like this, and we discuss about what is the most effective and efficient platform that we need to establish. So again, I believe in the near future, everything's become connected. Let's say in Jakarta within maximum 2 years, all the transportation mode in Jakarta will be connected. Again, it's use a digital payment. So there is no issue, and very optimistic on that issue.
Right.
Thank you.
I'd like to move on to Pak Rabin. So we're not going to ask, in order per seats, but this is very interesting for Pak Rabin because one of the prerequisites for a global city is that, it has interconnected transportation system. And Jakarta, as, assured by many gentlemen in front of you, have, tried to achieve that and have tried to go to that direction. And we're about to have the LRT system launch in the next 1 or 2 weeks, but we have also to realize that there is a challenge in, about the center interconnection or the system integration system that the LRT is currently has. So how do you foresee the integration of transportation in Jakarta amid these technical challenges, especially coming from LRT?
The technical challenges, I think hopefully we will overcome it. Now currently the team is currently undergoing a trial and run to see what are the hiccups and trying to address the hiccups before the launch. I think now the current report shows that the current hiccups being addressed right now, currently in the systems, but hopefully it should be ready on time. Now, I think the issue not only in the system, but also the issue is going to be in how to socialize, right? And how to inform the public and how to use the system itself.
Right.
One of the ideas that at least that what we want to do is to also collaborate with the local governments to show that, when you go to, I think, Hong Kong or Singapore, you have that octopus card, right? When you can use one card to go from one mode of transportation, that's the idea that what we want. Obviously, that would require us to integrate the systems, right? And connecting the systems, obviously will take some time, and there'll be some hiccups, but hopefully within the next 3 months during the operation of the system, we can address all the hiccups. We request, I guess, the citizens to be patient and to address the issues in the channels that we will provide, and hopefully they can provide some inputs. And one of the key things of rolling out this type of new innovations of integrations is to get more public participations, right? Obviously, when you do this type of piloting in the beginning, you can only do so much. But later on, when you do a rollout, the more public participates, the more that they can provide more inputs to us, then we can fine-tune it in a way that the public wants.
Yeah.
But we request humbly that the public can be patient.
Public has to be patient, but shifting people from using public vehicles to public transportation has been indeed a challenge. We saw that during the inauguration or at the early days of the inauguration of MRT, it was very challenging. But for the LRT system, how from SOE ministry at least encourage the public to use this LRT and abandoning or minimizing the use of their private vehicles?
I think now, look, the citizen has become younger. Even my son, he doesn't drive anymore. He doesn't even have a driver license. He's 20 years old. Back in my days when I was 17, even if we're not even 17 years old yet, we always get a driver license, sim tembak. Nowadays, kids nowadays, they don't even want to have driver license. So that indicates the needs of today's, right? Oftentimes we thought, do we really need to push people not to have cars? But the younger people, when I ask them, do you really want to have cars? They don't actually want to have cars. You know, they use public transportation, either they go Gojeks, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I feel very optimistic that as we provide more better public transportation, that is up standard to global standards, you know, we become more global citizens, right? Because they want to be global citizens, right?
Right.
At the end of the day.
But how to make sure, sorry for interrupting, Pak Rabin, how to make sure that all these people from all economic brackets, especially from those, for those at the middle, lower income bracket, to be able to financially access the public transportation?
I think pricing will matter in the beginning. And there will be need some, you know, tariff subsidies, and that's something that we're currently discussing with the governments, and how to provide the right pricings, right? Now, obviously, pricing matters, but we want to make sure the pricing is fair enough for the continuation of also the services being provided by the SOEs.
All right, thank you so much, Pak. I'd like to jump to Pak Nasruddin from, you know, the host city. You are the representation of the host city, Jakarta. Within the promising economic outlook that you have presented earlier, what are the certain steps that the Jakarta provincial government will do in the next couple of years at least to stabilize the city's economic development, especially in prioritized sectors such as you mentioned, infrastructure, transportation sector, and also telco?
Yeah. Thank you for your question. Actually, right now we already established a legal foundation for that, such as spatial planning, also from 2023 until 2026. We call it RPD, Rencana Pembangunan Daerah, or Development Planning, Regional Development Planning agenda or document.
Yeah.
And also from infrastructure side, we already what we are prepared from infrastructure, hard infrastructure, also soft infrastructures. From hard infrastructures, nowadays you can find MRT already developed, and also LRT from central government already developed in Jakarta. And now we already also connect those between MRT, LRT, and buses become one ecosystem. So we are using one ticket. We can use this ticket to all.
That's the JAK Pro, right?
Yeah.
The one card, single card that can be used on multiple transportation modes.
That is a soft infrastructure that we have to create. And then I think a new infrastructure also will develop in Jakarta. We, as our colleague from central government said, that we prepare for the next step is develop from east to west MRT, and also in Jakarta itself, and Pemprov DKI, DKI Jakarta government also planning to develop LRT from Velodrome to Manggarai in this year. So start from this year.
Right.
So this is part of, but we need actually from investor, because we realize that we have only 83 trillion regional budget.
Yeah.
And we need investors in order to boost this infrastructure development.
And as investors, you are all invited to join the bandwagon to, you know, progress the infrastructure, especially in transportation of the city. But you know, talking about the economic growth that you mentioned of Jakarta, on the other hand, we see many challenges, especially on transportation sector. We still, you know, see many traffic jams on productive hours. We see pollution, etc. Is there any blueprint that the Jakarta government is currently undertaking or is currently seeing how to tackle those challenges?
Yeah, I think we have in Jakarta province, we have Bapeda. We already set planning 10 years, what we are going to develop, which infrastructure, and in what time we have make planning for 10 years, and we see the gap between those we have in the budget and we should have from other resources like innovative financings. As I remember that the growth is depend not only from state budget, or we call it G, variable G, also from investment. Investment I and consumptions. Consumption is C. 50% of economic growth in Jakarta, 50% come from consumptions. But from government expenditure, from local government side, only contribute 2% of GDRP. So PDRB, or you call it local domestic product. So that's why we need like investment coming, and also we believe also we use our colleagues here, executive director of regional owned enterprise, also join in this forum. They also help us in order to develop infrastructure in Jakarta, such as how they create, how they develop a next LRT from Velodrome to Manggarai, and also state-owned enterprise, not state-owned enterprise, local-owned enterprise in DKI Jakarta. We have 13 local-owned enterprise in Jakarta that has asset around 191 trillion rupiah. And also they contribute revenue, and also they around 30 trillion rupiah.
Okay.
Compare with the local, we have a local budget. Our local budget 83 trillion rupiah, and total asset of DKI 505 trillion
Wow.
rupiah. So local owned enterprise also support those activities in order to improve development in Jakarta.
So this is the right time for investors, whether it's from international stage or local stage, come to Jakarta, because this is the right time as the city is aggressively brushing up its competitiveness and the ease of doing business. I'd like to move to Pak Omar. So continuing on the discussion with Pak Nasruddin, Pak Omar. Pak Omar is from Bapanas once again. We see that, as I mentioned before, traffic, pollution, human competitiveness in Jakarta are the biggest challenges that the city currently has. But what kind of factors can increase Jakarta's competitiveness as a business center among all global cities?
Thank you. First of all, I think from the central government view, regulation need to be, certainty. Once regulation has been released, and then we need to stick on that. One of our hobby is changing
Change
the
regulation once the government changes.
All the time. So this is lower the trust of the investor, or let's say our friend from outside the government. So one is, I call it regulation certainty. So make sure that we have a regulation at least for the next 5 years. Don't change it. I mean, of course we can change it, but in a really proper way. The second is transparency and simplification in the investment licensing system. Jakarta is not really good. I mean, Jakarta is the best in Indonesia, but I mean, compared to other cities in the world, we are still lag behind. So we need to to be better and better. The third is when we're talking about the availability of the quality, good quality of infrastructure. I mean, this is not only the road or the water, wastewater, but we're talking about information technology. So we can, let's say, internet for everybody. In one of the city like Seoul, you can find internet in everywhere, free. But here, like, you know, you have to pay. Sometimes it's really expensive. And the next is the capacity of the city management. I think this is important. Like, let's say for most of the staff in the government of Jakarta, they need to at least understand English or can speak fluently in English. So easily important to attract the investor from outside Jakarta. The last is the collaboration.
Right.
Remember, we have two big issues in Indonesia, including Jakarta. Working in silos.
Working in what?
Silos.
Silos?
Yeah. So everybody working, but all we don't talk each other.
Okay.
We only work. Working hard, very hard, but don't talk each other. The second is fragmented governance. In like a metropolitan Jakarta, we have many cities, many kabupatens, and then three provinces, three governors. So collaboration is a must. And then we still have problem with that.
Okay.
We don't, we're really struggling with this issue. I think that's all. We need to make sure that we have it.
It's really interesting that you mentioned about we tend to work in silence and we don't coordinate to each other because there's also sector ego, right? Currently underway or currently we're having, and that's one of the biggest challenge. But through collaboration, we can realize everything. But in the next 5 years, Pak Omar, this is my last question before the Q&A session. In the next 5 years, how do you foresee Jakarta compared to other main cities in Asia? For example, like Hong Kong or Singapore, or even Bangkok. How do you foresee in the next 5 years?
I think first of all, we need to like a grand design. How we move forward all together. Not only the government, not only the private sector. So the forum like this is really good. We can talk, we can share our expertise, we can share our knowledge, we can share everything, including the funding. So grand design, how to move forward. These are like a consensus from everybody, from every single stakeholders, and then we have like a regular based meeting through this forum.
Right.
Not only this is like a seminar, not like seminar. It's really a working session, how to solve the problem, right? I think that's the idea.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pak Osmar. I'd like to move on to Professor Wihana. Professor Wihana, I'd like to focus on the transportation sector. And we've been, Indonesians have been spoiled by the easiness of having private vehicles. For example, for a motorbike, we only pay like 500,000 as down payment. Then after that, we pay what? In a month, we pay like 400 or 500,000. It's easy to have private motorcycles. Now it's getting easier to have private cars as well. And the big question is, because this is the prerequisite of a global city that has a very good transportation system, how would you or how would we shift the tradition or the habit of using private vehicles into public transportation, and what the incentives prepared for public to do so?
Yeah, thank you. That I mentioned before that MOT already used the strategy of RC. Avoid means that try to boost people to living in the transit-oriented development, TOD. So people not using private vehicle because with the mass transportation, they just visit in station and then goes to the shopping area and also office in the transit-oriented development. That's one strategy. That's why in terminal and also station, we are going to put TOD. Second, we try also to give subsidies for bus corporate to conduct the bus with our subsidies.
Right.
To using private vehicle, move to public transport using bus, especially under the electric bicycle program as well. And the third, using electric vehicle, like many governments, echelon 1 and 2 and MOT now using electric vehicle to avoid using old car and gasoline using. That's why this one. Another thing, subsidize and stimulus policy from us to move, avoid, save and to improve, according to using the kind of strategy. And now, Minister try to attract investor to provide bus electricity. This one good idea.
But from the investor perspective, they are very concerned about the ROI, return on investment, right? If I put my money here, I want to have my money back by, let's say, 20 or 30 years. In your prediction or in the outlook of your ministry, if some investors want to put their money or invest their money in the transportation sector, how long will it take to get the ROI, return on investment, Pak?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let me just try to attract investment using our incentive policy. Besides subsidize, besides using the pricing strategy, tariff strategy, we also using incentive by other policy, providing the infrastructures by us to attract profit investment. But we cannot conduct this policy alone, because the ecosystem not only us, we only not regulator, builder, and so on, but sometimes incentive related to Minister of Finance as well, and other ministry or enterprise as well. That's why, in order to reduce congestion in Jakarta, we try to make the ecosystem first, and then using the new methodology, try to attract the real mobility using under the new data generation, and then that's all.
Thank you, Prof. Pak Robin, would you like to jump in about how many years will it take for investors to realize their ROIs?
I think that really depends. I think that really depends on the projections of the investment itself, right? But to be frank, looking if any investor would come to Indonesia, if you look at the macro projection itself, the country is expecting the GDP per capita to reach about 5,000 US dollar, this year. That's usually an inflection point. 5,000 GDP per capita, usually an inflection point where there will be usually a boost in consumption, boost in investments. Any investors look at that figure, it's usually a trigger for them to invest in a country. Now, Indonesia, a country, fourth populous country in the world, growing middle income class, itself is already a country that can compete with anyone in terms of market size, right? So any investor that would like to come to Indonesia would eventually need to calculate that in their calculations. Now, the length of how much that they will get in terms of the ROI would actually depends on how much breadth and space that they have, right, in terms of their investments. But usually that takes around 10 to 15 years, depending on how much that they're willing to be in the country, right?
10 to 15 years.
Yeah, 10 to 15 years. Now, I think the growth right now is they're looking like, the idea of investing in EV, for instance, right? That also in line with the government's also policy, right, to push for more EVs. I mean, look at it, 50 million middle income class. If you're any EV manufacturing companies, you take 10% of that.
And by the way, what I love really about EV is that it's immune to odd and even plate number policy. Ganjil genap, free from that.
Exactly. So I think by looking at that sheer number, that's an easy calculation for any companies that want to come into Indonesia, right?
Right.
But the question is that, will they willing to be able to compete in terms of how much pricing that they're willing to give to the consumer of Indonesia?
But maybe I need some kind of assurance from you for investors, whether it's international or local investors. What kind of innovation and what kind of work that has been put by the SOE ministry to make the investment climate more business friendly, more easy to access, and more profitable?
I think from SOE side, we're willing to collaborate with any investors as long as there is transfer of knowledge. SOE at the end of the day is a state assets. We're supposed to venture into a pioneer industry, right? We're not gonna be in the industry for a long term. Eventually, at the end of the day, we want the private sector to take a part of it too, right? And that's been proven in any other business that we have. We used to be in textile industries. We stepped out because we know the private sector are much more effective and efficient.
Okay.
Right? Now, for others, I think we're looking at it now. So the question is that if there's any foreign investor coming into Indonesia, venturing into a pioneer industries and willing to work with us, as long as there is transfer of knowledge, we're willing to work with them.
But maybe some investors would also ask, how do you make sure that the playing field is level, that the playing field is equal between private sectors and state-owned enterprises? Because some may suggest that, the SOEs are being treated as golden boys by the government. How do you make sure that the playing field is equal to those two players?
I think there's a bit of misconception in here. When the SOE takes any government assignments projects, usually it's a government assignment project whereby no private sector is willing to take any of those government assignment projects. You can check. So SOE is indeed applying the principle of competitive neutrality at the end of the day. So from the government point of view, when we do take any government assignment projects, are those government assignment projects which are not being looked at by the private sectors.
Right. Okay. Pak Robin, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd like to continue to Pak Diki. Pak Diki, we were talking about transportation with Pak Robin, and now I'd like to ask you about the digital finance inclusion, because you mentioned about Chris, not Curious, but Chris, right? And Chris is getting more prominent in Indonesian financial sector. But in terms of its being used widely by Indonesia, no matter where they are, archipelagically, when will it be realized that maybe people in Papua or people in eastern part of Indonesia can also use Chris with much, much better internet connection?
That's really interesting question. Actually, we are in the process developing new features for Chris. Not only for payment, but Chris also be able to transfer money.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We call it Chris Tuntas.
Chris Tuntas?
Yes. Tarik tunai, transfer, and store.
Okay.
Okay. You can withdraw, you can save, and you can transfer.
Is it
through Chris?
Is it quite normal in different countries, or is it like the first in ASEAN?
Specifically in Indonesia and first in ASEAN.
Okay.
Okay. Why we develop this kind of feature? Because we know that we need to reach out to the to the needs, especially in the corner of the country. A lot of people doesn't have a bank account. They only use a mobile phone, e-wallet through non-bank institution. So I think the time is running out. I will be quick. We need to use all the technology available to provide the easy access to the people. Right. So Chris can be used by the subsistence people across the country, especially from cities to the remote area.
Okay.
So, the urban area in Jakarta especially, they just, live here for a week or months, they get their daily payment, their families in the village, they can just transfer through Kris.
And that's going to make
Without bank
investing,
account.
exactly, that's going to make investing in financial sector would be more lucrative than
Absolutely.
ever. All right.
Absolutely. So
Okay.
the mobility of the fund between cities and villages become so fast.
All
That's
right.
the
So
vision. Thank
we
you.
have now reached at the end of the discussion. It's very sad that our time is up, but I'd like to give all the gentlemen to give some kind of final statement or final insights to the audience. Maybe we can start off with Pak Diki. Go ahead, Pak.
Let me reiterate Pak Osmar concern. I think the most important one for us, all of us here, how to make, the collaborations become, the first step of the process. We need to sit together, lay out our own strategic plan, and then we talk each other about how to progress with the process. That's my takeaways for this forum. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Pak Robin, go ahead, Pak.
Yeah, I think I echo Pak Diki. I think one of the key things about ensuring and becoming a global city is this key of collaborations between whether that's from the local enterprise entity, SOE, private sectors, whether it's coming from international or domestic investors, right? Now, knowing what we want and how do you want to go, where to go, especially when Nusantara is built.
The new capital.
Yes, the new capital. I think that's important for the city of Jakarta as a whole. If city of Jakarta is going to be the economic center of Indonesia, then we as the citizen of Jakarta, right, needs to also contribute to the development of city of Jakarta. Then we, as a city of Jakarta, we also need to provide insight and inputs to the local government itself. What do we want Jakarta to be? What type of services that we want to be, that we want the government to provide at the local levels, right? Now, I think that type of interaction needs to happen. For it to happen, civil society needs also to be strengthened.
All right. Thank you, Pak Robin. Pak Omar, please, the time is yours, Pak.
Actually, my name is Oswar.
Aswar, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Pak. Yeah.
Okay. My name is not unusual name. So. First of all, I think collaboration is a must. And then when we're talking about collaboration, we're talking about consensus. We're talking about investment forum that really having walking sessions. And then, of course, we also have a need to adopt what the global city in the world doing. Like when we're talking about transportation, we can look at the London, New York. When we're talking about culture and social, we can see the way London doing their business regarding the culture. They protect, they preserve, they conserve their heritage. I think that's all. Thank you.
Pak Osmar, thank you very much. And apologies for the mispronouncing your name. Professor Wihana.
Yes, because talking about new Jakarta, the future of Jakarta, first we have to shift our paradigm. Yeah? The most important thing, we have the same vision, executive, legislative, corporative, and also many stakeholders inside in Jakarta. First, our vision should be same. The second is harmonized regulations. After paradigm, we already agree with one paradigm. The second, harmonized regulation. The third, we try to use the business process using digital solution and also green solution. And the fourth, try to make the organization, set up the organization, because Jakarta is a big business, big activity, and big externality. That's why the organization should set up. And the approach should be using with spatial approach rather than sectoral approach. Yeah. Spatial, talking about Jakarta, we have national budget, local budget, and state-owned enterprise budget, corporate budget. So try to make a new regulation, new organization, and then capacity building for the capacity of the new Jakarta, and the last, create the incentive structure to be moving positively. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Last but not least, Pak Nasruddin.
Okay, thank you. Infrastructure development in the city of Jakarta is one of the follow-up steps to continue to be accelerated by Jakarta provincial government in seeking and pursuing global city status. The improvement of the transportation system with existence of the MRT, LRT, Transjakarta, and feeder public transportation is the main proof that government is serious about improving the management transportation system in Jakarta. And besides that, we also realize that supporting infrastructure in trade flows, such as the port in Jakarta, has contributed 6.7 million TEUs per year, and 14 million tons of cargo per year, will benefit Jakarta positioning as an economic gateway in international trade flow, and that is able to tribute its position by contributing to achieving improvement in the ranking of city in Asia. And the last, I would like also to comment that actually we need, Jakarta need, we have still room of improvement in order to develop infrastructure, but still we have fiscal space, limited in fiscal space. So that's why other resources, financing, we need like creative financing. We need to, in order to boost development of infrastructure.
The PPP.
Yeah, that's all.
All right, Pak Nasruddin, thank you very much. Let's give a big round of applause for our panelists for today, ladies and gentlemen. So all in all I can say is that this is the right time to invest in Jakarta, or widely to invest in Indonesia, because there are many promising projects that are underway to boost the economy and attract more investment coming in, including preparing Jakarta as a center of investment and finance. And as previously said, that Jakarta's economic outlook has been very, very positive, starting from 2020 to 2022, that sees growth, which is very tremendous, from minus 2.39 in 2020 to an economic growth of 5.25% in 2022. And last but not least, Jakarta investment realization in Q1 has also increased by 7% quarter on quarter in the sectors of transportation and telco, housing, trade, and also mining. So there's no other right moment. Now is the right moment to invest in Jakarta. Gentlemen, thank you very much. And I'd like to ask you to please stand up. Let's now capture this very special moment for a photo shoot op. Chairwoman of Jakarta Investment Center, Mbak, let's join in. Ayo, kita foto. Langsung impromptu. Our friends from GIC, let's join us. Let's give a big round of applause for all the panelists. Thank you very much. And we do really appreciate for your time and also for the insights delivered by all the panelists. And thank you. you for the audience who have, taken this into account and taken this very seriously about Jakarta's readiness to become a global player or global city. Now I'd like to give it back to Amelia Yahya. Please take it away, Amel.
Thank you very much, Rory. Ladies and gentlemen, what a productive, informative plenary discussion. And I'd like to sincerely thank Rory for wonderfully moderating this illuminating session talking about Global City and Beyond Jakarta Investment Forum 2023. Now, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, after that productive session, that is merely one of the many discussions that we're going to have today. Allow me to remind you that after lunch from 1:30 until 3 p.m., we'll have 3 thematic discussions and 1 workshop. And we're going to invite more experts to join us on stage as they extend their knowledge to all of us. So ladies and gentlemen, for the first thematic session, it will be on unlocking a net zero Jakarta, which will be held in this very ballroom. And our second thematic discussion, it will be on seizing infrastructure investment opportunities in Jakarta, which will be held on Caroline Ballroom 2. And the third thematic discussion will be on creating green investment opportunities and potential in Jakarta, which I will be moderating, and it will be located in Newport 2. And last but not least, for our workshop, it will be on sustainability reporting for companies, and it will be held in Newport 1. And ladies and gentlemen, it's about now, as you mingle with the great company that is around you, would also like to invite everyone to enjoy lunch together that is located in the front of the Newport meeting room at the Voyage area. So once again, on behalf of our dearest host, allow us to extend our profound gratitude and sincere thanks to everyone for your participation and for your attendance today. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Selamat siang Bapak Ibu sekalian.